Hey Canucks fans, welcome to Clay's Canucks Commentary. It is Sunday, September the 2nd. I'm Clay Emo at Canuck Clay on Twitter. I'm at Clayton Emo on Instagram. And I'm a founding member of the GLCPC, the good-looking Canucks Positivity Club. Truly hope you're enjoying your Labor Day long weekend. For us in the Emo household, it means 4 out of the 5 people, everyone except me basically, are savoring their last weekend of summer as they get ready for the routine of back to school. We have my eldest son, Sean. He's entering grade 12. Jacob's entering grade 10. Kayla is going to grade 6. And my lovely wife, Gail, is starting her 19th year of teaching, and this one being her 3rd consecutive year of teaching grade 4 after many years of teaching grade 2. So needless to say, Gail and the 3 kids all getting ready to go back to school. As for me, since I've been back from California, back to my routine already, doing obviously working, doing some speaking, some writing, and some blogging, of course. So as we get ready for that routine, the Canucks are starting to settle into their routine. All the young players have come into town in anticipation of next weekend's Young Stars tournament up in the Okanagan. The veterans will start coming to town as well, starting to work out, in essence, as they look ahead to the October start of the season. But before that, it's the Young Stars tourney next week. And with that, we'll get a lot of articles, a lot of attention on a lot of the Canucks prospects that have given the Canucks fans hope, the most hope they've had in a long while. We know that this season, and maybe next, but this season for sure, probably another painful season as we try to replace guys like the Sedins, Thomas Vanek, and their offensive production. We'll see how all the new guys gel, whatever it may be. But I think one player that everyone's excited about, and we'll start to see some of his wizardry this weekend, that would be 2017 first round, 5th overall draft pick, Elias Pettersson. So in anticipation of this Young Stars tourney next weekend, I put out 2 poll questions on Twitter last night. And usually you know that a new Canucks video is coming, because I'll usually preface it with a poll question on Twitter to kind of gauge Canucks fans' interest and gauge their really what they think about what I'm going to talk about. So I put 2 questions out. The first question was simply, will Elias Pettersson have a better rookie season than Brock Boeser? And then as a follow-up question to that, it was, how many points do you think Pettersson will get? 16 above, 50 to 59, 40 to 49, and then under 40. Let me talk about the results of those 2 poll questions, because they kind of all morph into what I'm going to talk about, and which is this. Will Pettersson have a better rookie season than Brock Boeser? Before we talk about the poll question, let's talk about Brock Boeser's rookie season. It was phenomenal. We know that he came 2nd in the Calder Trophy race, losing out to Matthew Barzal, who was obviously a very worthy winner. Boeser had 29 goals and 26 assists, so 55 points in 62 games. Very strong. Extrapolate that over 80 to 82 games, he would have had about almost 70 points, high 60s, 70 points. We know that his season was cut short in early March. It was a game I was at, Canucks versus Islanders. Cal Cutterbuck, not intentionally, but basically nailed Boeser. He didn't intentionally hurt him. He intentionally hit him, though. Hit him and Boeser fell awkwardly into the bench door that was open. And of course, Boeser missed, like I said, the last 6 or 7 weeks, last 20 games of the season. And who knows if he would have won the Calder Trophy overall. So again, 55 points in 62 games. Mainstay on the first power play unit. Played on the second line with Bo Horvat and Sven Barchi mostly. And then before he got hurt, actually all 3 of those guys got hurt. And then, of course, he won the NHL MVP, the MVP award for the All-Star game in the winter. So an outstanding season for Boeser. 55 points, 62 games, 2nd in the Calder Trophy voting, and NHL All-Star game MVP. So when I asked the question, will Pettersson have a better rookie season than Boeser, I intentionally left it vague with the word better. And I even put in the tweet, I said, use whatever definition or interpretation of better that you want, the word better, because most people I think would default to points as a gauge, and others might default to how much does Pettersson improve next year, how much better does he make the Canucks team overall. So whatever interpretation you use, these were the results. Basically, for the first question, down the middle, 160 votes, and it was 52% yes, Pettersson will have a better rookie season than Boeser. 48% no, he won't. But basically, you can say that it was in essence a saw-off. It was even. It was just a couple of votes either way. So 52% yes, 48% no. So let's say that's a saw-off. That's a draw. Then for people using whatever interpretation they want for the word better, I did put that second poll question about points. And we had 350 respondents. People got more excited about this one, I guess. And 30% of the people said he'll get 60 points or more, very optimistic. 35% said between 50 and 59. So 30 and 35. 25% said between 40 and 49, and then only 10% said under 40 points. So 65%, 30 and 35, said he'll get 50 points or more You add in the other 25%, 90% of the people think he'll get at least 40 points, which is obviously half a point a game, pretty good season. But chop off that bottom part, and yes, 65% of you are saying that he will get at least 50 points, which I think any Canucks fan would take as a successful season for Elias Pettersson. So let's talk about the math behind that. Boeser got his 55 points in 62 games, just under a point per game pace. So extrapolate that over 80 or 82 games. Remember, Boeser missed the first 2 games of the year because he wasn't dressed. So you extrapolate that a bit, and then Boeser would have got in the high 60s, maybe about 70 points last season over a full season if he didn't get injured. For Pettersson, this is what I predict. I predict that his points per game is not going to be as high as Brock Boeser's was, and I'll get to that in my reasons why in a second. So let's say he gets more of a 0.7 points per game pace. But I predict, despite a slight build that a few people are worried about, that Pettersson will play 75 to 80 games. So if you even go 0.7 times 80 games, there's your 55, there's your 56 points, exactly what Brock Boeser get, albeit over more games. If it's instead of a 0.7 points per game, if it's more 0.75 points per game over 80 games, then now you're looking at a 60-point season. So I predict that Pettersson will get between 55 and 60 points for next season, this season I should say, but he'll do so in more games than Boeser because I predict that he'll play more games and be more healthy, whether it's luck or whatever it may be. So that's my prediction, that Elias Pettersson scores between 55 and 60 points over 80 games or so, thus either equaling or slightly surpassing Brock Boeser's total from last year. Here are a few factors, not necessarily here are a few factors that we can consider. Number one, I think the most important thing is who's Pettersson going to be playing with? Last year, Boeser played with Horvat and Sven Barchi, like I said, not on a sheltered second line, on the second line. Of course, the Sedins and Thomas Vanek, they're getting most of the first line minutes when it came to even strength. So Boeser was there on the second line, solidly on the second line, playing with Bo Horvat for the entire season. And he got first power play unit minutes with Boeser, Horvat, Edler, and the 2 Sedins. And of course, we know that Boeser helped elevate the Canucks power play from 21st in the league to tied for 9th overall in the league last year. So a great effect on the power play. So that's where Boeser got his points. Obviously at even strength, and a lot of them on the power play didn't play anything shorthanded, which makes sense. So what will Pettersson do this year? Well, almost the same situation. Now the first line will be likely Horvat, Boeser, and whoever they put with them, whether it's Barchi, Godolbin, or Leipzig. But we know that Boeser will play with Horvat in the first line. Then Pettersson slides in the second line, whether that's as the center between guys like Godolbin or Leipzig and likely Louis Eriksson, or maybe he plays on the left wing or right wing between with someone else as the second line center. I think we'll see how he does in the Young Stars tournament. We'll see how he does in training camp, how he does obviously in the preseason games. I think ultimately the Canucks want Pettersson to play center. The question is, will they put him there right away to start the year? But regardless, we know that Pettersson will be on the second line, much like Boeser was last year. We know that Pettersson will be on the first power play unit, at least he should be, on the right side wall, taking Henrik's spot. You still put Horvat in front of the net, you put Boeser on the other side on the faceoff dot, put Edler up top, and you'll have to find a fourth forward to play with them, whether it's Godolbin, Leipzig, Sam Gagner, whoever it may be. Okay? So Pettersson's basically going to have the same ice time, same opportunities that Boeser did last year on the second line at even strength and the first unit power play. But now the question is, how will that second line do? How will that power play do compared to last year? You could argue that Pettersson is, I don't know, is he more skilled? Is he more creative than Henrik on the side wall? But Henrik and Daniel's chemistry, you simply can't replace that. Boeser is better. Horvat will be stronger by a year. You don't know who that fourth forward is going to be. So it's kind of hard to tell if the Canucks power play is going to be better or worse, at least their first unit. And then I think by virtue of Pettersson playing with less skilled players at even strength, remember Boeser had Horvat and Barchi last year, Pettersson won't have that. He'll have a combination of Eriksson or Godolbin or Leipzig or Sutter or whoever's on that second line. So that's why I think that he won't have the same points per game pace. So that's the first thing. The first factor, I think, is who's Pettersson going to be playing with. I think the second factor is, to Pettersson's advantage or favor, is that he played a whole full season last year in the Swedish Elite League with grown men, with professional hockey players. Yeah, they're not NHL players, most of them, but they are men. Whereas Brock Boeser came into the league after playing a couple years at college with, yes, they are men as well, but they're not professional players. So whether you argue that the Swedish Elite League is a higher level than college, I think we all agree it is, but just by how much, we can't really tell. Is it a big jump? Is it a little jump? Regardless, Pettersson has been playing with men, with professionals, semi-pro players, as opposed to Boeser, who had come in the league playing with a bunch of college players. So I think that's another thing we need to factor, is the fact that Pettersson has had a full season playing with men, and that thus I think he'll be slightly, even though Boeser was good, don't mind me, of course. I don't know what I was saying there. We know that Boeser had a great season, but you could argue that Pettersson might even be more NHL ready because of who he played with all of last year. So I think those are two big factors, is who does Pettersson play with, and the fact that he has played with men for an entire season. All to say, like I said, I predict Pettersson will come in between 55 and 60 points, presuming he's healthy for the entire season. So slightly better than Brock Boeser, albeit spread out over more games. Canucks fans would love to hear what you think. I'm not knocking Boeser at all. I love him. He's my third favorite player behind Horvat and Virtanen. But I love Boeser. I'm just surprised there hasn't been a lot of hype with Pettersson going into the season. But like I said, there's been a lot of other Canucks news with Trevor Linden and the free agent signings. So I think as this weekend starts, the Young Stars tourney, and as we only have 4 weeks after that to count down to the start of the season, I think we're going to get more excited about Pettersson. We know he's going to be the one prospect that does crack the lineup this year. And then we can see right off the bat, I don't think he'll be scratched the first 2 games. And we can see how well he does. And we'll get a pretty good taste of it starting this weekend. Canucks fans, what do you think? Do you think, whatever interpretation you want to use, will Pettersson have a better rookie season than Brock Boeser did? Will he score more points than Brock Boeser did? And over how many games? And what factors do you think play into this, aside from the 2 I mentioned, who he plays with and the fact that he has experience playing with professional men, professional hockey players? Leave a comment below. I'd love to read, react, and reply to it. Thank you for sticking with me through the summer. It was a little slow, but now I look forward to ramping things up as we get going. Got also a cool plan for the Canucks season once they get playing regular season games in October that I'll talk about in a little bit. And yeah, next week I'll also talk about a way where talk about my Canucks season tickets and give you a way where you can buy some cheap tickets off me, good price, great seats, and I'll tell you about that next week. Enjoy the rest of your long weekend. Once again, leave a comment below. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't done so already. Give this video a like if you like what I'm doing, and enjoy your time with your friends and your family as we wind down summer. God bless, and go Canucks go.